It's John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. Now, at the time of recording, this is Kaladesh Prerelease weekend, and usually when you get to a pre-release weekend, it means it's a rather slow week in general for the market, and this one's no exception. We are going to see a couple big cards based off speculation of what the new metagame is going to look like, or some speculation based off combos that we're going to see from Kaladesh. But for the most part, things are relatively quiet. So let's start off by talking about Standard. We're going to look at the top 5 cards that lost value this week. Now you're going to notice at least some of these cards are cards that are rotating out of the environment, but there's a few others too to look at. Coming in at number 5 is Spell Queller. This is down 77 cents to $7. I think Spell Queller is a really good lesson in modern Magic investment. This is a card that when it came out, it was valued at over $20. You're paying $20, $25 for this card. It's a very good card. It's extremely popular. It sees a lot of play, even though it's now down to $7. But the main reason for this is it's a rare, and Magic cards are printed so much nowadays. Some mythics can hold value if they see play and there's a desire for players to pick them up, but rares, even the ones that see a lot of play, are really going to drop in value quite a bit as more and more packs get open. So Spell Queller is kind of a perfect example of what modern Magic finance really is becoming. Coming in number 4 is Jace Vern's Prodigy, down 87 cents to $27.49. And now Jace has a pretty interesting history in a very short period of time. Of course, this card was close to $100 at one point, and now as time has gone on, we've seen this drop to almost $25 now. Of course, Jace is rotating out of Standard in another week here, but ultimately, if you can pick some of these up for $20, $25, I do think they're a good long-term investment. This is a card that will still see modern play and play in some other places too. Liliana the Last Hope, down 98 cents to $43.68. I mean, not a huge loss here, but right now this is a good indication that players aren't actively picking up some of the big Standard staples because they want to wait a week or two to see what's going to happen to the metagame. Now, if you need this for a tournament next week, well then you'll probably pick it up. But other than that, I think everyone's kind of waiting to see what's about to happen. Coming in number 2 is Collected Company, down 99 cents to $10.89. Of course, another card that will be leaving Standard, and that's why it's dropping. But again, this is a card that we'll see play in Modern in the future too. So if you can pick copies of this up between $5, $8 maybe, I think you can find a pretty good deal over the next few weeks. And finally, Nissa Vastwood Seer, down $1.25 to $12.53, and yet again another card that will be rotating out of the environment. Alright, let's look at what cards have gained value this week in Standard. First thing you're going to notice when we say gained value, we're talking very, very small amounts. As a matter of fact, these are really more or less indicators of what players might be thinking than they are actual market growth. Coming in number 5 is Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger, up 7 cents to $12.15. This card is actually seeing a lot of play in a lot of different places, which is kind of exciting. It is seeing, of course, Standard play, but it's also seeing play in Modern in the Tron decks. It's also seeing play in Legacy in the Eldrazi decks there. So I think this card has some good long-term potential, and really $12.15 right now doesn't feel bad to me. You can find this card usually places for $8 to $10 if you look hard enough. Might not be a bad idea to pick it up at some point. Coming in number 4 is Fevered Visions, up 8 cents to $2.44. Again, not a huge increase or a big indicator of anything other than the fact that we know the Izzet deck in Standard actually has been doing pretty well recently, and you see quite a few copies of that out there. Coming in number 3 is Eldrazi Displacer, up 9 cents to $4.37. Another card that sees play in a lot of different places, maybe one of the most popular being the Modern Bant Eldrazi deck. And again, because of that, this card does have long-term potential, and it's still pretty reasonably priced right now. Coming in number 2 is Lupine Prototype. A lot of players have been trying to make this card work since it originally came out in Eldritch Moon, but what makes this card intriguing right now is its prospect of how it's going to work with vehicles. So for 2 mana, I get a 5/5 creature. Even if I can't attack or block with it, I can still use it to pilot a vehicle, and it could add some efficiency to vehicles with high crew costs. Remains to be seen how it will pan out. We'll probably know very soon, maybe in a week or so, at the Star City Games Open. But I do think we're going to see some players trying to put that deck together. Could really be interesting. So if this happens to do well, yeah, this card will continue to go up. Notice you can pick these up for like $1 right now, so it's not a bad card to speculate on if you think it is going to go up. However, keep in mind, again, this is a modern day Magic rare, so even if it does see a lot of play in Standard going forward, I don't expect an increase of more than maybe like $5 to $6 on this card. Finally, coming in at number 1 is Collective Brutality, up 24 cents to 4.70. I've said this every week. If you haven't got your play sets of this card, or as a matter of fact, all of the rare collective cards, I would go out and pick them up. I think long term you're going to find some value here. These are all cards that potentially could have momentum into other formats. This one right now is leading the pack because it's seeing play in a number of different places. In Modern especially, it's seeing a lot of play there in both the Jund deck as well as the Dredge deck. Alright, let's move on to Modern. There's a few interesting things to look at here in Modern. For the most part, though, it's relatively slow right now. So let's look at the cards that lost value first. Coming in number 5 is the original Modern Masters version of Vendilion Click, and this is down 80 cents to $32, just normal stabilization here. Coming in number 4 is Sliver Legion, down 86 cents to $35.99, more normal stabilization. Coming in number 3 is Snapcaster Mage, down $1.57 to $51.38. Snapcaster Mage has been slowly creeping down recently. At one point it was up close to $60, and I don't expect this trend to continue too much longer. It could get down to about $50, but then I think at that point folks will probably feel comfortable investing in it again. I think that people are a little soft on this card right now since Modern Masters 2017 has been officially announced. This card is pretty much a shoo-in to be in there, although it will most likely be a mythic rare. Coming in at number 2 is Noble Hierarch, down 326 to 71.24, and this is the Conflux version. This saw a huge spike a couple weeks ago, like a huge unnatural spike. So I don't know if some collectors were trying to pick up the original version of the card or what it was exactly, but all of a sudden this just skyrocketed quickly, even faster than the reprinted version of the card. So I do think there's going to be some backlash to that, and we're starting to see it now, this declining relatively rapidly already. And finally, coming in at number 1 is 9th edition Brushland, down 766 to 17.95. Now, here's the thing with this card. I've been talking about this for weeks and weeks now. Yes, it is in Bant Eldrazi. It is a very popular card right now in Modern because of that. But at the same time, there's a lot of different versions out there, and for some reason, this version just went through the roof, where you can get the other versions, including the original Ice Age version, for much cheaper. Now, the original Ice Age version, since originally this all happened, has started to go up a little bit now. And now you do have other options, though, like 6th edition or even 8th edition Brushlands that are a whole lot cheaper, and they do the same thing. So, as a matter of fact, if you check out in the description below, I have a link to our Amazon affiliate store, and I've updated the cards in that store so that you can find cards that we're talking about today, and I put Brushland in there, and you can really notice the difference between all the different types of Brushlands. I just find it very intriguing, and if you need to pick them up, and you do pick anything up through those links, of course, a small percentage does come back to help the channel, so I always appreciate that. Alright, let's move on to the top 5 Modern cards that have gained value this week. Coming in number 5 is Crucible of Worlds, going up $1.03 to $61.32. This is the 5th Dawn version, and this, again, very, very popular fan favorite card. It is getting a printing as an invention in Kaladesh. I'm sure that will just have it garner even more attention. Unfortunately, it desperately needs a true reprinting and a true set, like hopefully Modern Masters 2017, for example. So hopefully we'll see it there, but this card continuing to creep up. Coming in at number 4, Engineered Explosives. This again is the 5th Dawn version, up $1.35 to $52.97. So it's a good week for 5th Dawn. Engineered Explosives, we talked about this last few episodes, but basically this card has really taken off recently, and it was undervalued for a long, long time. It was a great card for Modern sideboards, and it just happens to positioned itself even better recently in the meta, and pretty much almost every modern deck's running these in the sideboard, so of course it's increased. I think on top of that, we've also seen some collectors jump on once they started seeing price increases, which increased the momentum of the card going up in value. So it's still going up at this point. I do think at some point there will be a little bit of a backlash, and it will start to fall back down once players have their copies and are comfortable with what they have, but at the same time, it hasn't happened yet. Number 3 is Leyline of the Void. The Guild Pack version went up $1.03 to $15.21, where the Magic 2011 version went up $1.38 to $13.88. Big sideboard card in Modern against Dredge right now. Dredge is a very big deck. It's been doing very well, so players are looking for answers to it. Coming in number 2 is Through the Breach, up $2.62 to $47.99. Another card that needs a reprint. Seeing a lot of Modern play. It's been seeing more even recently. Coming in number 1 is Platinum Empyrean, up $5.91 to $15.73. Now, a lot of folks want to try to combo this with Madcap Experiments from Kaladesh, and if that pans out, this card could continue to go up in value. If it doesn't pan out in the meta, this card will probably crash pretty hard. So this one's a pretty risky investment. It's just going to depend on how well this particular combo can take hold. All right, let's move on to Legacy. Now, Legacy, again, pretty slow week. You're going to see just mostly normal stabilization here. Nothing too crazy. Doesn't look like any crazy buyouts have happened or anything like that this week, so that's good news. But you will notice, again, we're going to be dealing mostly in reserve list cards with maybe one exception. Coming in number 5 is Moat, down $10.94 to $579.97. Now, Moat was bought out a few months back. It did increase quite a bit. It's been crashing down pretty hard recently, though. But I think, again, here's another lesson to be learned with some of these buyouts. If the card doesn't see a fair amount of tournament play, it really is a hard time holding its value once the card is introduced back into the marketplace. Now, when someone makes a buyout and they are buying cards that are $500-$600 cards, most likely they have to buy those on credit, and that means for them to get their full investment back, they're going to have to sell those cards very quickly, or else they'll be paying a lot of interest on that credit. So you'll see this with cards like Moat. There was a big spike in the card, but it got quickly reintroduced in the market and started to crash. The hype around the card was not super significant because it wasn't a card needed to be played in a lot of competitive decks. It's more of a fan favorite casual card, but because of the fact that less players are even in the market to pick it up, what you're seeing is the card pretty much going back to close to where it was prior to the buyout. Coming in number 4 is Volcanic Island Unlimited version, down $18.29 to $474.36. You're going to see a lot of dual lands today. Again, for the most part, they're all just normal stabilization for these cards. Coming in number 3 is Tundra Unlimited, down $20.99 to $399.95. Number 2 is Scrubland, again Unlimited, down $26 to $155. And finally, number 1 is Underground Sea Unlimited version, down $26.60 to $522.73. Alright, so let's look at the cards that have gone up in value this week. Coming in number 5 is City of Brass, up $12.47 to $119.95. This, of course, is the original Arabian Nights version. Coming in number 4 is Legends Mirror Universe, up $12.74 to $98.98. And we're back with dual lands. Coming in number 3 is the revised version of Underground Sea, up $16.90 to $349.95. Now, if you are in the market to picking up any dual lands, I would probably recommend at this point the revised ones, even though, yes, the Alpha Beta Unlimited ones will continue to go up in value overall over time. They are also very, very expensive at this point. So if you need cards to play with, obviously go with the cheapest version. Unfortunately, the cheapest version is not very cheap with revised. Or if you're even looking to collect for a long-term investment, I think the revised are just fine. You're still going to get an investment. I mean, you're still looking at a $350 version of Underground Sea here. Next, we have Tropical Island Unlimited version, up $21.21 to $366.67. And coming in number 1 is the Tabernacle of Pendrell Val. So it wouldn't be a market watch if we don't talk about the Tabernacle. It's up $43.79 to $1,250. Now, even though it's up $43. That's not a big change for a card when a card's this expensive. So I have noticed over the last probably year or so that this card has probably overall increased in price by about $200. It's sometimes hard to see that because it goes up and down, up and down. But I remember when I first started doing these market watches, it was around a $1,000 card. Now it's probably around a $1,200 card for the most part. So it is seeing growth, but it is a card that has pretty much become unattainable for most players. So that is the Market Watch for this week. As always, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality content for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't yet had a chance to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.